G'day. On day 4, I woke pretty weary and hungry. Last night's late arrival had meant I didn't get dinner and all I'd had was the food I was carrying. So I headed off to Helensville for a big breakfast. I was surprised by how steep the hills were on the way out of Helensville. I was also conscious of falling behind schedule, as today my cousin Colin was going to come along for some of the ride. I met Colin just outside of Massey. I was quite relieved to have him along for the ride through Auckland. Coming into Auckland beside the Northwestern Motorway was not ideal, but the cycle tracks were good. It's more that I recognised riding in the more rural routes was much better than coming into a big city like Auckland. I had to stop a couple of times during the morning to put some air into my rear tyre as it had a slow flat. Eventually, I plugged it with a Stan's no tubes dart, which stopped the leak. I'll try to put together another video with all the tools and the gear I took on the TA. And no, I'm not being sponsored. Everything I took on the TA, I did a lot of research for, and I bought it all myself. After the ride up Mount Eden for the 5th photo control point, we came back down and stopped in Mount Eden Village for a spot of lunch. And the ride through Cornwall Park is quite a relief after the busy suburban streets around Auckland. This also brought back some really good memories for me because I used to live in Auckland in the 80s. Colin continued on with me down through South Auckland and out past the airport. As we crossed the Great South Road, it was time for Colin to turn back. He had ridden about 60 kilometres with me, so by the time he cycled back to his car, he was going to have a big day. I said my goodbyes to Colin, and then shortly afterwards, it was great to have another break from the traffic as the route turned into Tour Park. This was about 2/3 way in my journey today, so it meant I still had 45 kilometres to go. Soon the route turned east, out towards Ardmore and on to Clevedon. It was great to be out in the countryside again, but these roads were quite busy. The TA actually has an alternative path which avoids going out towards the coast, but I chose this route because it's more scenic. On the way to Kawakawa Bay, I met up with Sam and Amy, 2 other TA riders. Now they'd just taken the wrong route and had about 8 kilometres of hill climbing that they didn't need to do. Amy was feeling a bit sore, so we all rode along together as we were all riding to the top 10 holiday park at Orere Point. Kawakawa Bay is really beautiful, and we were all looking forward to dinner at the fish and chip shop, which is the last shop before you get to the holiday park. Unfortunately, the chippy was shut due to COVID, and this was really disappointing. There's one last steep climb after Kawakawa Bay, then the ride's nice and gentle downhill all the way to the holiday park. Once again, I end up having canned soup and tin spag bowl for dinner. However, the holiday park itself was clean and tidy, and I'd managed to secure the last cabin. I'd also read online that there was a pub in the village at Orere Point. However, this turned out to be a myth, and my hopes for a beer were dashed. Never mind. If you want to join me for day 5, just click over here. See ya.